Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Chunji Akuma, and today I want to talk to you about sensitivity. Now, in essence, sensitivity is how fast or slow you move your crosshair across your screen with each mouse swipe. Now, the higher your sensitivity is, the less you have to swipe your mouse across your mouse pad, but the lower your sensitivity is, the more of your mouse pad you're going to have to use to move it the same distance. Now, this is the main reason I always suggest to people to have a large mouse pad when playing CSGO, especially if they're going to play at the lower sensitivities. Now, with that said, I must remind you one thing. Sensitivity is all about personal preference. That means not every single person you talk to will have the exact same sensitivity, and the reason for that is because it depends upon their playstyle. Now, I will say this though. When it comes to sensitivity, most players at the top level do have approximately the same sensitivity and DPI, and the reason for that is because it makes it a lot easier for them to aim at all distances. Now, I will also say that sensitivity is probably one of the major reasons you're not ranking up. I know, for instance, when I was around Gold Nova 1, Gold Nova 2, I could not get out of it and I didn't understand why. And the main reason for that is because my sensitivity was off the wall. I would move my mouse about a fourth across my mouse pad and I would 180. That is way too high. Now, most people don't want to or don't need to 180 every single match. And if you're going to have to 180 every single match, well, you're probably doing something wrong. It's not very realistic for you to have to always 180 every time you're trying to get onto a site. Now, let's lead with this. My sensitivity is at 2 with a DPI of 400. So I'd probably suggest you start somewhere around there just to test if that's too low or too high for you. I highly doubt that's going to be too high for you, but if it is, just mess around with the singular sensitivity, either raising it or lowering it to your liking. Now, at 200 or 400 DPI, excuse me, and at 2 sensitivity, that is equivalent to 800 DPI and 1 sensitivity. Alright, now that we got the little nitty-gritty parts about sensitivity out of the way, we're going to move on to what you need to know about sensitivity and how to find your specific sensitivity. Now, you want your sensitivity to be smooth, so when you move your crosshair or your mouse across your mouse pad, it moves exactly where you want it to move. Now, if you're trying to do this every time you're trying to move across your mouse pad, that's probably because your sensitivity is way too low. Having to regrip your mouse every time you try to turn is a bad thing. You want it to be as smooth as possible so you can always check the corners with either an entire mouse pad, a half a mouse pad. It just depends on how you play. Now, once you have your sensitivity at and you're not like regripping it every single time you're trying to turn, then you're probably at a decent section or a decent sensitivity for yourself. Now, I will say this though. We'll use this as an example. The main reason I always tell people to start at a low sensitivity first is because when it comes to trying to aim at targets at long range, having a low sensitivity makes it a lot easier to track a target, makes it a lot easier to look at the spots where targets may come out of. But if you have a very high sensitivity, such as this, let's go with sensitivity 10, just to make it ridiculous. Now, if I'm trying to do the same thing and trying to like adjust, it's way too hard because it's too much sensitivity. Now, you don't want to do this kind of thing. You don't want to be going around a corner and have to like switch targets really fast because you're going to be overshooting your target or undershooting your target depending on how much you have. If you're overshooting your target every time you try to follow them around, that's because you have way too high sensitivity. So if someone's coming out of this door and you try to adjust, but you're overshooting them every single time, your sensitivity is way too high, guys. Now, that's why I play at a 2 sensitivity. It makes it a lot easier for me to like, track them across here like this, or if they jump out for some reason, I can track up easily and so on and so forth. Now, this comes with 2 things. Whether you're a wrist aimer or an arm aimer, this is going to make a huge difference. For instance, I'm a wrist aimer, so I know if I flick my wrist just a little bit here and there, I can flick between both these relatively okay. Like if I'm assuming they're at the door and at the blue, you know what I'm saying? So if I can't flick between these very well, and I'm using, say, my entire arm, it's going to be different for me. I'm not very good at total arm, which is what I've been doing right now. So it comes to depending on what you personally do, either arm or wrist. So make sure you know this is going to change it dramatically when it comes to finding your sensitivity. Now, once you know you can check your corners with ease and you don't have to worry too much about overshooting your targets, then you know that you're at a decent sensitivity. And you want to make it smooth. So for instance, if this is the guy that we're trying to target, you don't want to be like, trying to re-aim it and you're like missing it because you're trying to overshoot it, undershoot it. But if you can smoothly look at this target at different distances, and you know for a fact you can stay on this target, then you probably have a good sensitivity, guys. This is something you want to practice. This is going to be something you want to do over and over and over until you find the right sensitivity. A lot of people are around, when I say sensitivities, they're probably around sensitivity 2, 2.5, maybe even 3. At sensitivity 3, this is a little too much for me. I'm kind of staying on the target, but I'm kind of over and undershooting a little bit. So I know for a fact that that sensitivity is too high for me. So number 2 is the best for me specifically. I can usually stay on target relatively well, and I don't have to worry too much about it. Now, also, when it comes to picking your sensitivity, you want to make sure that you are consistent with it. So once you find a sensitivity you like, you want to stick with it. Because if you don't practice the sensitivity, you're never going to get it down. Probably the best way to practice sensitivity is in an actual competitive match. If you are in a death match, this is useful, but a lot of people always complain about or want to get the most frags. And getting the most frags in a death match is not really good indicator of whether your sensitivity is good or not. A competitive match is definitely where you'll find out whether your sensitivity is good or not. I know, for instance, that doing a 180 with my mouse pad is an entire mouse pad. So for instance, if I want to turn all the way around, I have to use my entire mouse pad to go back and forth. And you're going to want to know this about your mouse and about your sensitivity. Otherwise, you're going to be missing out on a lot of opportunities to get kills and a lot of opportunities just to increase your skill level. So that's what I would say when it comes to becoming more consistent. I know a lot of people are worried about being consistent with their kills, being more consistent with their games, getting more wins and stuff like that. So sensitivity is probably one of the main causes of this, guys, and it's something you're going to need practice, especially keep it smooth, keep it, you don't want to be doing this every single time you're trying to turn around. And a lot of people, there are a couple people, I know like Elige plays at like 1600 DPI, but that's one of those cases where he just practiced continuous with it, and he got a lot better than most people at those high sensitivities and DPIs. So not everyone's going to be able to do that. But that's what I'd say when it comes to just sensitivity in general, guys. Make sure you practice with it. Make sure you lower it. I'm pretty sure most of you are going to have to lower your sensitivities and lower your DPIs because they're more than likely way too high. If you don't know what DPI is, it is dot per inch, and this goes hand in hand with your sensitivity, and this will affect it dramatically. So make sure you Google it, and it has to do with your mouse. Some mice can switch sensitivities or DPIs, and some can't. So make sure that you look that up and Google exactly if yours can or cannot do that. So I would probably suggest starting around 400 at 2.5 sensitivity and going up or down from there depending on whether it's good or bad for you personally. All about personal preference, guys. So that's pretty much what I have for you when it comes to learning your sensitivity and making sure you have it at the correct levels. You don't want it jerky. You don't want it overshooting every time you're trying to, get a target who's coming up. You're like, oh crap. And you just want it to be a smooth movement and be able to get your targets and check corners at all distances quickly, efficiently, and without overshooting it. Alright guys, if you guys have any questions when it comes to sensitivity, this was quite a quick tutorial on it. Make sure you ask in the comments below. Make sure you keep up and keep practicing, otherwise you will never ever leave the, I was going to say sensitivity, no, you'll never leave the area of skill level you're probably at currently. So that's all I have for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time on our next tutorial for improving your aim. Alright guys, have a good night, and I will see you when I see you.